Good morning, everybody. It is the Going On Daily Live morning show. And what a show it's going to be today. I've got Martin in the house with me. We're very rarely together, Martin. Very
It's true.
rare.
Yeah. I think that's because we look too much alike now.
Yeah, maybe. There is a slight resemblance, especially if
Yeah.
I haven't shaved in a while.
Yeah.
Then it really becomes much worse. And right now, there's people probably thinking, "Wait,
Right. Right.
what?
Yeah, I know. Is this like some sort of
Brush up those
special
eyes."
vision? Yeah.
Look, you're not seeing double. You're seeing correctly. So don't worry. Don't panic. You don't need to go to the doctors or the emergency room or anything like that.
No.
You are perfectly fine. Look, great show today. We have, and let me tell you, this is episode 118. And Passing of Jimmy is the title. So obviously, we're going to be talking some Jimmy Carter today. We are going to be talking about, what is it, a tardigrade?
Tardigrades. Yeah.
Like,
Tardigrades.
you want to see weird animals. This thing is amazing. It looks like a deformed manatee,
Mhm.
which manatees are kind of suspect in the way they look too. So
I like to
they're
think
a little
that
suspect.
manatees look like deformed tardigrades. Is how I like to think.
Well, yeah, maybe that could be it. That could be what it is. We also have, what is Martin reading today? Oh, I
Mm,
cannot wait for that.
oh,
And also, Chicken Wars, the 3-decade war,
mm,
right?
okay.
Chicken Wars, the 3-decade war. Also, we will have my bodyguard. I don't want to spoil it. We'll just say it's about, a little bit about Miss Whitney. And then, of course, Ron's top 5 has to be here. I have to have at least one fluff topic, right?
Okay.
It brings in people, when you talk about things, and then you can, put on all the hashtags, and those people,
Yes.
like Whitney Houston, can bring in people. Jimmy
Absolutely.
Carter will bring in people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what we're hoping for, right? We
Yeah.
want a lot of people to watch the show. So share as much as you can. Sharing is caring. So if you are watching us on Facebook at RI Broadcasting, share that. Click the little follow button, and also, hey, why not send some stars, right? A star is only a penny. It's a penny. And if 1,000,000 people send us a penny, we got something, right?
Yes. Yes.
So let's go. Let's get that out there. Good morning, Becky. Thank you for being here. I'm waiting for Kenny because Kenny is not going to be happy later.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
He is not going to be happy. When he has Ron's top 5, he is going to be upset, Martin. Going to be upset.
Okay. I look forward
So I'm
to
going to
that.
ruin his day. I'm going to ruin
Okay.
his day. You are also watching us on YouTube at Rhode Island Broadcasting. So click that subscribe button, and really give us a listen, right? You want to hear look, these shows are great. I mean, we get all kinds of things. We never know what we're going to be talking about. Even when we have the topics, we still don't know what we're going to be talking about.
Right.
You can also, of course, watch us on Twitch. Is that right? Yeah. Okay, Twitch at RI_broadcasting. We get a lot of gamers that watch us. And then, there's some podcasting on there. It's mostly for gaming, but there are podcasts that do the shows on there.
Okay.
And we have done pretty well with Twitch. So let's go. Let's jump on. And also, if you really want to, you can check us out on MeWe. You can check us out on Discord and Patreon. You got it. Look, gotta get a mug. You gotta get a mug. So we have stickers, mugs, and everything at Patreon at RI Broadcasting. And that is the one thing I forgot, is to make a new graphic for Patreon.
Okay, next year. Next year.
Yeah, next year it'll be ready it might be ready to go tomorrow.
Okay. This year. All right. Good.
So, where do we go from here? It's very simple. We go to our opening story, and let me tell you, it is. You know, it's big news when they interrupt the NFL.
Oh yeah.
Watching the game, then all of a sudden it goes to this thing, and I'm like, "The hell? They just stopped the game. what?
Right. I mean,
What is this?"
no,
And
no,
then
they're showing
and then
Heidi.
the
They're showing Heidi. That's what it is.
yeah,
They're
and then they start saying, that they show the picture of Jimmy Carter, and I'm like, "Oh no." And
mm,
he's a nice man, right?
yes, yes.
He is a nice man. And he's probably the most decent human we've had as a president in however long, right? It might
Pro-
be going back a long ways.
Probably since Millard Fillmore. No, I don't. I don't know. I just made
Yeah,
that.
maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the last good one really has been what, Lincoln?
I mean,
I mean,
is
it
there
might
any
not be
is
that
there any
bad, but
controversy over Lincoln still, or we've settled that, right? Lincoln is safe topic, right? Lincoln, good name.
Lincoln is a safe topic, yeah, because I don't think anybody can be upset with Lincoln
Yeah,
except for Thomas Robb from the KKK. I mean, that's about it. This
yeah.
is now what, 3 shows in a row. I think I've mentioned Thomas Robb.
A, a theme is emerging here, Ron. I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's kind of scary that I keep bringing it up. Keep bringing it up. So, all right. So Jimmy Carter passes. What do you got for us about
Well,
Jimmy?
you know, just a couple of things. I found out yesterday we were visiting my mom and her husband on Cape Cod, and we're driving home, and my wife casually asked, "When did Jimmy Carter die?" And I said, "Oh," and I said, "He's still alive." And I said, "I think." I'm like, "What are you looking at here?" And then she scrolled a little further. I think he just passed away. So she was reading a comment about his passing. So he must have passed a few minutes before, and hadn't realized that
Yeah,
this was very recent. So, but we all knew this was coming. He had been ailing. He's been in hospice care for probably over a year now, and was 100 years old.
yeah,
And it was his time for sure. And I just wanted to share how he came into my consciousness because it's a funny story and it's a sweet story, and wanting to stay away from controversial things, but just a chance for me to reflect a little bit on my life and Jimmy Carter's. But one day, it was in 1975, either the summer or the fall. So I was either in seventh grade or about to start. My parents were out the night before. At the time, my dad he did public relations for Bankers Trust. Which no longer exists. It's now was subsumed by Deutsche Bank, and he was responsible for public relations in Westchester County. And so he would go to all sorts of events at night, and certainly political events, Democrat and Republican. So there was this big Democratic fundraiser event in White Plains, New York, and my parents went. And the next morning, my mom tells me, she goes, "Oh, I met so many interesting people. And I danced with this very nice man who thinks he's going to be president of the United States. His name is, get this, his name is Jimmy Carter, and he's a peanut farmer from Georgia." And we were introduced, and then back then people danced and it was chaste, it was polite socializing. And he goes, "Well, ma'am, I hope it was a pleasure to meet you. I hope you support me. I'm going to be throwing my hat in the ring, and I'm going to run to be president of the United States." And my mom said, "Well, he's a lovely man, thinks he's going to be president."
right.
Yeah. And so when the primaries start, I thought, all right, nice night for mom and dad. And then I see his name, and then he's gaining traction. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God, he might be president of the United States. When he was the candidate and he was elected. But that's how my mom met him. And she thought he was quaint and certainly polite and a gentleman, but was just amused by the notion that, somehow he was going to emerge. But it speaks to how uh, the primary system, which was relatively new at the time, how people emerged. Let's just say a lot of people have emerged as the nominee and then ultimately the president, who maybe at first people were like, "I don't think so," right? And it did happen, but that's how he entered my consciousness, and he ended up winning. And I believe that year my parents probably voted for him as well back then when I was but a lad. But when you look at, he had his 4 years in the presidency, but before then, he had quite the career besides being a peanut farmer in Georgia. Served in the Navy, went to Annapolis, and then we'll leave this to historians and sociologists, but many people believe his post presidential years were among the most consequential and maybe a model for many.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. He
So,
was such a great person after the presidency,
yeah,
and I don't really think that he got a fair shake as a president. But it is what it is. I mean, you
it is
have
what
to
it is.
deal with these things, and you know, if there's something goes wrong, you're responsible, and and that's unfortunate,
Hmm.
but this is a kind of guy that I think that we need in there. Somebody that is a gentleman, and that doesn't seem like he's a career politician, you
Mm,
know? Like
mm,
he a peanut farmer, right? Just
right.
coming out of nowhere.
Sure.
And people responded to that. And I think if that was to happen again, people would vote for that person, you
They
know?
might. Yeah,
I
they
I
might.
I just what he did after presidency was nothing short of amazing. Nothing
Mm,
short of amazing.
yeah, it's true. And in his late years, still volunteering in causes that were important. I believe Habitat for Humanity, if I'm getting the right organization, was one of them. He's still building houses. I mean, I can barely swing a hammer, and
Right.
admittedly, he was moving slow, but the intention was to be of service and to give to others, and that's a good model for anyone to follow.
Yeah, it is. It is.
My other thought was it was not Jimmy Carter specific, but it's something interesting about the American presidency and our country, and because he lived so long, it's worth looking at. When he was born in 1924, there were 48 states. There were 48 stars on the American flag at the time,
Wow.
and the
Wow.
the bigger picture when you step back is to date. This may change in the next 5 to 10 years, but to date, there is no American president, okay, who died under the same flag that he was born under. And so since he was born, there's now 50, two more states, two more stars added. Our country is always changing. And maybe there'll be 51 or 52 stars in the future. Maybe there'll be 47. Maybe some state, there is unrest here. I'm not predicting, I'm not wishing anything, but it's interesting that you can look at our country over time and say we are growing, we are changing, and the people who have been the head of state of our country, when they have left the world, it was a different, bigger country than when they entered the world. And Jimmy Carter, it gives us a chance to take a glimpse at that, given that he was alive for a century.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot has changed
Mm,
since he was born. I mean, when you think about, the civil rights,
mm,
I mean, we were still stuck in the past for the most part. And a lot of things have been different, and Becky, a farmer, would definitely stand up for farming rights now, absolutely, right?
yeah.
Because they're getting squeezed so much, and just the costs keep climbing. And Hugo, thanks for being here. um it's a lot has changed,
Mm,
and when you think about it, television was born, right?
mhm.
I mean, that in itself changed a
Yes.
lot of things. So, I mean, there's no way we can predict on what is going to happen. And you're right about those states. Like, we could add a couple more, and yet the country could change, and have less. Who knows? We don't know what's going to happen. Um, but we all know that something needs to change, and we all have to start coming together again.
Nah, that's for sure. That is true.
If
Well,
Canada becomes the 51st state.
well, yeah.
Oh, I love it. That's
I
funny.
mean,
It could
but
happen.
I mean, this is what you hear, right? I mean, there is an absurdity to that, but we're at an interesting crossroad. Not to be too political, but we'll see where we are in 5 years, and I hope
Yeah.
but however it plays out, I hope it's in a good place. But the passing of this man, he represents in his lifetime, he saw a lot. His commitment to service to others, I think, was authentic and
Yes.
productive, and he deserves to rest in peace now. So,
Yes, he does. Absolutely. I agree 100%, Martin. People have to respect what he's done in his life.
hmm,
People have to respect that. And I think he has earned that on both sides of the fence, right?
hmm,
Both Democratic and Republican. I think he earned that.
hmm.
Anybody after Carter though might not have the respect of the other. But when you think about
Yeah,
it, I mean,
yeah.
say what you want about any of them, they do all have their good sides too, all of
Hmm.
them. So we can't
Um,
crucify them for everything.
right, right. Well, they're fundamental humanity too, and yeah, you might be surprised by what someone whose presidency, let's say, you did not appreciate, and then you find out, well, maybe there were some interesting things or some good things done too. But for sure. Um,
Right.
I remember when it's not when Ronald Reagan passed away. I remember reading Edmund Morris's biography of his, which was somewhat controversial. I won't go into that detail why it became controversial. It's how he ended it, but he talked about when he was interviewing Reagan while he was writing the biography. Ronald Reagan was already in decline, severe decline, because of his illness of Alzheimer's. But there was a birthday party for him, and someone had baked a huge cake that was it was an image of the White House. And Edmund Morris was now talking to Ronald Reagan, and Reagan said, "This is my birthday cake. They tell me this has something to do with me." And what a profound and poignant moment, that here was this man, a leader of this country for 8 years. Again, we won't go into what we liked or what we didn't like or whoever, but he just held that position and accomplished X, Y, and Z. But now he did not have the capacity to understand what he did or recognize the most iconic symbol of his time in that leadership. And the biographer was there, for that very human moment. We are all human, and we are all mortal. And so when someone passes away, particularly someone with a decent heart like Jimmy Carter, we honor their humanity. That's all. No more, no less.
There we go. Well said, Martin. Well, let's move on to another battle besides
Mm,
politics.
okay.
And that is, see, Ira, I can do the segues too. I can do this.
Okay.
Let's talk about these chicken wars that have
Yeah.
lasted 3 decades, right? I
Mm,
mean, remember when Popeyes first came out? Then it
yes.
was like the McDonald's, KFC, and Popeyes. That was basically it
Yeah.
when you think about it, right? Well, now it's blown into this full world war. and
Who
and I'll
knew?
tell you, it's
Yeah.
pretty impressive the facts of all of these companies that, you know, that range from great quality and poor quality, and
Mm,
then everybody else in the middle, right? So I was reading on Yahoo Life. Got to give them credit for this one.
hmm.
I don't want hate mail coming to me. If you hate this, then you send it to Yahoo Life.
Yahoo Life. Yeah.
So the most consumed meat in the 1990s, that's when things changed from basically beef to chicken.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since then, it has still grown. Chicken is now eaten double of what beef is,
Wow.
right? Or pork.
Mm,
And so when you have those numbers, you start to wonder, who the best is, right?
mm. Actually, I'm
So,
curious what the beef associations think about this. This must be really, chapping their shorts, don't you?
oh yeah,
They
yeah,
can't they can't be
yeah.
happy.
They're not too happy about all this
No.
because remember the commercial beef? It's what for
Yeah,
dinner. That
yeah.
was spawning the panic that they were
Oh,
having because they were
um,
losing the chickens.
Okay.
They were losing to chickens.
Yikes. All right, go
So,
ahead. Let's hear.
so there is the highest quality and the lowest quality,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
Now it's interesting because the popular ones are the lowest quality.
Interesting.
So for every good one, there is a bad one, and the good one on the highest quality is Culver's, a Wisconsin base. Hugo, have you been to a Culver's out there where you're living? That is what I want to know because I know Hugo's watching. Where's the beef? Yep,
There's the
I
beef.
remember that too.
There's the beef.
Um, we only got Popeyes where I live about 5 years ago. That's what Becky says. So there's only a Popeyes in Edmonton area.
Okay.
That's it.
I
So
I've not heard of Culver's, and I admit I've
I
not been
haven't
to
either.
Wisconsin.
Yeah. So based in Wisconsin, but they have 900, restaurants. 900.
That's a lot.
So, well, you figure a huge population doesn't eat pork.
Yeah.
Another huge population doesn't eat beef. So chicken is kind of universally safe for all. That is true.
Yeah.
No, that is true. That's 100%. I get that. No, people recommend not to go. Well, those people are probably false. So they're probably spies for like KFC or something.
Yeah. Mm,
So Culver's, uh,
most popular.
their chicken has zero preservatives or hormones.
Okay.
Zero.
I
Big
like
fat
that.
zero. They get all their chicken from Springer Mountain Farms, and so they have their chickens running around. You know, um, they say their spicy chicken surpasses Popeyes.
Okay.
Surpasses.
Well, that's a claim. That's a high bar there, but
Right. So Culver's, Hugo, don't listen to those people. Try to go to Culver's because we want to know how good they are.
can we ask people to
So,
send us some Culvers if you're out in that area? Send us some Culvers.
absolutely.
Send us some Culvers. We'll get the Popeyes on our own, and then we'll do a little taste test.
Yeah, we could do a taste test. That would be pretty awesome. I'll have to grab a chicken burger. Yes, grab the chicken burger, Hugo, and report back to us. I mean, I would like to know.
Okay.
I would like to know. Of course, with every good there is a bad, and McDonald's is in the lowest quality.
Mm.
Now, do you remember that thing about the pink goo?
Yes. Yes.
It is totally false. It didn't happen. It's a myth. Did not happen. That's not what they do.
Okay.
Um, their nuggets, however, are heavily processed
Yes.
and partially fried and then frozen
Hmm.
and then sent to the McDonald's. So that's kind of scary. Heavily processed is the problem with all of this, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Because
Yeah. Yeah.
once they process it, it's no longer chicken.
I was gonna. What
No
makes it?
longer
I mean, it's protoplasm. What makes it chicken, right? Yeah. Everything.
right,
Else is it. Yeah. Yeah.
right. Because according to this, even the other chicken that they sell, which is the chicken sandwiches and stuff
Hmm.
like that, is a blend of boneless chicken.
A blend.
Blend.
A blend. Okay.
See, that's the scary part,
Yeah.
right? The
Blend.
blend.
Yeah. The magic word.
You're
The
just
magic.
taking parts of all kinds of chickens and just kind of mixing it together.
Mhm.
And then gets put into 4 different kinds of oil
4.
and preservatives added.
Mhm.
And, so once you're pulling apart in those machines and then stuffing it, and then,
Yeah.
the
Sorry, yeah.
basically a cookie cutter for
Yeah.
it's like the bagged stuff you get in the frozen food section. It's all it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all it is.
I wonder why
So
they
the
use
critics
4
say it's the
types of
worst
oil.
possible quality.
Yeah. All right. I won't argue that.
So I haven't been to McDonald's too often lately. Last time I went, was not happy about the chicken nuggets. Hugo says, I've come to terms not to go to McDonald's anymore. I have too.
Yeah,
I'd much rather go to Wendy's than anything, than any McDonald's or Burger King.
yeah.
Um, I think of those fast food restaurants, you
Hmm.
know, I, I'd rather go to Wendy's. I just get a better meal there than I would at McDonald's or Burger King. Burger King is the worst to me.
Have you ever heard of White Castle? Is that a thing up in Rhode Island in New
I've
England?
heard of it. I have never been. I thought there was one in Rhode Island, but it was years ago. Years ago. I don't think it's there anymore.
There are still a couple in New York, and there's one in the Bronx across the street from Fordham University. I can't believe it's still there. And I'm not gonna go out on a limb and say, well, this is fine quality food. All I will say is I like the taste of their little hamburgers with little onions on it. So sometimes when I'm feeling the need to indulge in something, 4 or 5 White Castle little burgers, and they do a chicken thing too now. So it's the
Yeah.
place for me.
Becky says with these crap ingredients, it should be cheap, but it's not anymore. No,
Yeah,
nothing's cheap
yes, it's a
anymore.
good point.
All right, so another good one is Shake Shack,
Shake Shack.
who they claim to have no antibiotics or hormones, but news for you, Shake Shack, that is the law. You can't have that stuff in.
Ah,
So they all don't have that. They can't put
antibiotics too.
antibiotics and hormones. According to Yahoo Life, they're
Okay,
saying it is the law, but I beg to differ. I don't think antibiotics is against the law. I think hormones
things are.
are against the law.
Yeah.
Um, but they have zero animal byproducts and cage-free animals, never frozen.
Hmm.
Now I'm glad you're on with this because what is cooked sous vide?
Cooked sous vide.
It's a
Hmm.
fine dining technique.
Well, I've seen sous vide used in certain places referring
Oh,
to
maybe
these
that's
like
what it's
egg
probably
little
called.
egg nuggets that you eat. So I don't know if this is something like that, but I have to confess
Yeah.
I really couldn't say with certainty what they're referring
Well, they use that and they say that their chicken is as good as anyone's.
to. Okay, all right.
I don't know
As
what
good as
that
anyone's.
means.
As good as my grandma's? I don't know. Yeah, all right. But all right, they're
I
they're
don't
willing
know.
to put it out there.
I don't
I'll
know.
have to go. I've been to Shake Shack and for shakes. I have not had any of their chicken foods, but now I'm curious enough to try and see if it.
Right, exactly. I need to try Shake Shack. I can't try Culver's because there isn't any around
Yeah,
here.
right.
On the bad end of that is Popeyes.
Okay.
And for the most part, it's not because of the ingredients, because they have as good as the highest quality, right? The problem is they don't know how to cook it.
Oh, that could be a
So
problem.
you're either
Okay.
getting extremely great chicken or chicken that is so undercooked it makes you sick.
Wow, that's a good tip. Keep that they can't if they can't
So it
consistently
is
cook it.
pot luck when you go to a
Yeah.
Popeyes. And I'll tell you, because you have, and I'm going to spill the beans, KFC is also on the lowest quality.
Okay.
And from what I see from these lists, you have McDonald's, Popeyes, and KFC. The thing they have in common is most of the employees are kids.
Mm,
So they're not going to be perfect all the time.
okay.
And I think that is a big part of this because their workforce are like 16-year-olds. Think about that,
We're
right?
known to be precise and thorough in all that they
Yes, of
do. Yes.
course.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense. Ugh, that's gross, Hugo.
Yeah.
Said maggots.
Maggots. Mm,
Oh man.
yeah.
Okay, so Becky Sous vide. Is it sous vide
Sous vide. Okay, so it's a cooking technique. Ah, good to know. All right.
in a hot bath?
It's like
Uh,
poaching. It's like
so
poaching.
because it's a marinated kind of thing, right? I think that's what it is. They marinate it
Mm.
for like a day, and then they I don't know, do whatever they do to it.
So
So
Becky's was asking about A&Ws, and there is
yes,
one. There's an A&W in maybe in Rhode Island, but there's one in Cape Cod, and
there is.
it's been a while, but I've always enjoyed it. And I don't remember. I've had different things there, but I've always enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed the desserts, root beer
Yeah,
floaters.
we have one in Smithfield, Rhode Island.
Okay.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's the first one.
Oh, interesting.
I believe
Look
it
at
is the
that.
first one, and it's still open. And I remember working in Smithfield at the YMCA in the summer camp,
Okay.
and every day we would stop by there as staff and pick up some A&W for lunch.
Hmm.
Whether it's a hot dog or a burger, the food was fantastic.
Yeah.
Food was fantastic. So they out in a plastic bag and boil it in a bag.
Okay.
So there you go. That's what they do at Shake Shack. So
And you put a fancy title like name on it, like that kind of appellation, sous vide. It says, "Oh, yes, I would like mine sous vide,"
yeah,
but
so
it's
I mean
basically
I've never
boiled
heard
in a
the term
plastic
before.
bag. Yeah.
Yeah, A&W is a Canadian company, uses Canadian beef, no hormones, no
Good.
antibiotics, and their claim to fame, it's their claim to fame, which is shocking because all fast food should be using that quality.
Yeah.
And
Amen.
and when you're cooking, you should always use top quality. Top quality. You know, Hugo said he had A&W a few months ago. I don't know if it just meant that he had a soda in a can. All right,
Mm,
so rounding out this Chick-fil-A, also highest quality,
mm,
BurgerFi, Raising Canes, we just got a Raising Canes right near me, so now I
mm.
have to go check it out. I gotta check it out.
You
I
got that.
gotta
All right.
compare. And then there's Starbird. I've never heard of BurgerFi or Starbird, so I don't know. On the bad side, and I'll tell you, Subway is on the bad side. I don't know why you would ever go get chicken at Subway.
Well, that's
That
just
crap
it.
is sitting out all day long.
Yeah. I don't think of Subway as a place for chicken, but yeah, they serve grilled chicken and whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm if I'm at a Subway and I'm not there often, I'm probably not going for the chicken.
Yeah, I don't go to Subway anymore.
Yeah.
I don't get.
Yeah.
Domino's also on the low end. I mean, come on, really?
There's a
You're gonna
shot.
have chicken?
There's
I mean, the wings. I mean, those things are like frozen. By the time they get to you, they're hockey pucks. And Del Taco also on the low end. So you
Okay.
might want to stay away from the chicken burritos and tacos.
Okay. Good.
Low
I
end.
stand
So there you
warned.
go. There's the facts. I mean, it used to be very few people in the conversation. Now,
Yeah.
you know,
Game on.
Chick-fil-A, Shake Shack, and all these companies are now doing it. And we just got another one, this restaurant called Dave's Chicken. And I went there. Yes, expensive, but the chicken was phenomenal.
Mm.
It was really good. I don't know
Okay.
if they're just a family owned thing or if they're, got many other stores, but this
Right.
place was awesome. Awesome.
Okay. You know,
So,
the real takeaway from this for me is that just that chicken has sort of surpassed, other forms of meat, and over a certain
yeah,
time, I think it's doubled. It's as if the food industry has sort of created an environment where most of what we're eating, and I'm speaking in the aggregate, not individual people, is
yep.
basically corn and chicken. that if you were able to do studies on American bodies and what we're ingesting, and I suspect maybe little plastics. I don't know. I mean, I say that tongue in cheek, but most of what we're eating is some form of corn and some form of chicken. And there is such a cornucopia of things to ingest and eat that are delicious there. And it would be great if, writ large, again in the aggregate, we can return to eating all the wonderful food that's out there. And look, include chicken and corn, but we're eating way too much of it.
Yeah, I mean, when you start thinking about certain things, you know, people are programmed. I mean, they've been programmed from day one when advertising came, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And that's their jobs to make you eat a certain thing. And if they flood, television and radio with chicken ads, and there are, when you
yeah.
think about all those, like how many beef companies, have commercials?
Mm.
I can't even think of
Not so
many
much
of
anymore.
them.
Yeah, yeah.
But Tyson, Purdue,
Yeah,
all these names, right?
yeah, yeah.
So they're flooding the market with that, and it's worked. It's worked.
Yeah, and it's available, and taste buds respond. And if you're young and this is the mainstay of your diet, your taste buds are attuned to that, and keep gravitating to that and only that. So
Right.
it's why
Yeah.
every place has chicken nuggets. Oh, kids will always eat the chicken nuggets. But okay,
Exactly. Right. Because
okay,
they even when they put them in shapes too,
yeah, yeah, yes. Does it right? It's
like
like a new product,
dinosaurs,
and it's
right?
not. Yeah.
Like I even remember as an adult, I went and visited my mom, and she's like, "Oh, I'm making some chicken nuggets. Do you want some?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah.
And then she's like, "Oh, I got the ones with the dinosaurs. Is that okay?" I'm like,
Oh, that's
"Absolutely!" I was all excited, right? It's like, "Yes, definitely,
mom knows what you like. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly." So it's like you're programmed to like certain things
Yeah.
because that's what you're seeing all the time.
Well, I like chicken nuggets shaped like tardigrades. That's my favorite chicken.
Oh, you stole it from
Oh,
me. You
did I?
stole
Oh, I'm
it.
sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize. I
Oh.
had no idea. I had,
So, fun facts of tardigrades. That looks like a deformed manatee.
it does.
I mean,
It does.
it's
Well,
kind of funny.
yeah.
And I'm sure we're gonna have another sea creature tomorrow.
Oh, count on it, right? And Becky comes back. Well, this was
Yep.
inspired by Becky's good work in the oceans.
Yes.
And I felt like, I've got to bring something to the table.
Right,
Not so much
well,
to
you
compete.
certainly brought
Right?
a
Yeah.
funky looking dude here.
Yeah. So these tardigrades, what are they? They're eight-legged. They're microscopic. They're about the
Oh.
size of a grain of table salt. So we're
Oh, I
looking
thought
at
this
one
was gonna
that's
be a big boy.
super magnified, right? They were discovered in 1773, and I don't remember by who. I suppose I could look it up, but it's not really important. But we've known about these for a while, and they are fascinating because they are hardy, resilient little guys.
Yeah, but
They
is that his
can,
eye or is it his mouth? Or what is that?
and maybe it's both. And maybe it's maybe it's both. I don't know. This is what tardigrades can do.
It's like that um minion with the one eye.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. If he was yellow, yeah, with the around, little like that. All right, tardigrades can withstand 500 times the dosage of radiation, all kinds, X-rays, gamma rays, all kinds. 500 times more than humans. What would kill a human, they can take 500 times more. They can survive,
Jesus.
yeah, in extreme temperatures. I'm just going to use Fahrenheit. They can withstand temperatures from minus 459 degrees Fahrenheit to 330 degrees Fahrenheit. They have been
This is
tested.
the cockroach of the ocean.
This is They're not. They don't live in oceans, but they live in damp climates. You'll find them in moss, lichen, wherever there's dampness and
Oh,
water, and they need water, but they're not ocean creatures per se. Right? They have been tested. They can survive 10 days in outer space, and then put them out there with space where there is nothing. Okay, and you can bring them back in, and you can revive them. So the question is, okay, how do they do it? How did they evolved to withstand these extremes? Okay, God bless them.
Becky says they
Okay.
should study these guys for anti-cancer.
Well, yes, and they are studied for all sorts of things. The secret to their survival in these extreme circumstances is they can desiccate, which is to say they can shed 90% of their water. They can dehydrate to that point and then be revived by just add, the phrase just add
Just
water.
add water.
That's what you do. And they come back. And what happens is when they desiccate, when they lose all this water, they lose 97% of their water. Humans can lose about 30%. We're done. It's over. Okay. They lose 97%. What happens is they enter a state of cryptobiosis. And that means all their metabolic activity is being halted. And it's impressive that they can do that. But what's more impressive is, just add water and it starts it up again. And that's their secret. And so science
Hell,
is studying them. It's like, okay, what can we learn from this? And I'm going to simplify it because I'm not a microbiologist and I don't want to take up too much time. But basically, they found that there's a unique protein that latches onto their DNA strands and it acts like a protective coating, like armor. So what science is doing is they're isolating these proteins in the DNA and they're taking human cells and then subjecting them to some of and they inject the human cells with this protective protein. And then they test to see, can the human cells withstand the radiation or the desiccation and whatnot? And thus far, they have been. And so,
wow.
yes, right away, um, scientists are thinking if we want to seriously pursue space travel, this is incredible because the biggest obstacle to space travel is radiation in space. So if we can create these proteins and change the DNA to create some sort of armor, then maybe we can seriously do some long-term space travel,
Holy
which brings up
mackerel.
all sorts
That
of.
is crazy.
It is crazy, yeah. Now we're not there yet. Let's not, we don't want to get ahead of our skis, but they're
I
looking
mean,
at
I
this.
would love to go out into space, right?
Yeah, well, so there's some
I could
people
be
I
the
would like
next
to send
Captain
out into
Kirk.
space. Yeah, but um, if you want to find out a little more about them, I'm sure you can Google them. Things will come up. They came to my attention almost 3 years ago. I can't believe it's been that long. On a show that I referenced last week, it's a podcast, Skeptic's Guide to the Universe. And it's episode 865 from February of 2022. But there's some links there about some studies done, and they joke around about, like the X-Men. This is what the mutants are like. They have these properties of that can rebuild the DNA after desiccation and
We
whatnot.
kind of go
Uh,
into like a self hibernation kind of
yeah,
thing.
that's exactly it. That is exactly it. And look, we're not there yet. But one, it's fascinating that these creatures exist. Two, it's fascinating that we're looking at ways that we can take properties for them and put them to good and wholesome use. So, I mean,
Oh,
that's
this would
science
make a great
operating.
horror movie too.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, just look at that
A
creature too.
giant
Night
tardigrade.
of its tardigrades. But what could go wrong? You have to be careful. You have to be ethical. You have to be thorough. But
Oh yeah, and that's what all these people that
and
are
that's what
researching stuff are.
you have
Absolutely ethical.
you have to hire 16-year-olds to run the
Yes, that's
studies.
what you got to do. That's what
And
you
there
got to
you
do.
go. So, at any rate, they're a fascinating creature. They could make a great, giant tardigrades, and you can't kill them, right? So that would make a great sci-fi movie. So,
Becky
you know,
says Walt should have self desiccated and not self frozen.
is she talking about Walt Disney?
Yeah,
Is
I'm
that
sure
wow?
she is.
Oh God, that's funny. He's not really frozen, and neither is Ted Williams. Ted Williams, but that is funny.
Wait,
But
Ted Williams.
Yeah, there was some talk about Ted Williams that his family cryogenetically froze him, and that sort of faded away. But
Oh man, that would be awesome
wouldn't it be awesome? Bring him back
because he'd
next.
certainly dominate Major League Baseball today. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
no, wouldn't that be great? Hey, we could if we froze Ted Williams, Joe DiMaggio, brought them,
Oh my God,
brought
have
them
a
back.
super team.
Yeah, yeah, a super team of mutant baseball players with tardigrade armor and shells, and yeah, it'd be great.
Team
All right.
tardigrade.
Yeah, the tardigrades. That'd be a good football team.
Oh,
Guy, football teams that need new names. The tardigrades. There you go. There's your mascot. There's your
there
team.
you go. Right?
Indestructible. All right,
That
run
works
with
for
that.
me. Works for
Yeah.
me.
So
Oh,
nature
that
is
was great.
fascinating. Full stop.
That was great. So Martin, we're gonna do another one of your topics, of course.
Oh,
What is Martin reading?
oh my goodness. All right. So right before Christmas, I finished The Grapes of Wrath, John Steinbeck. I had not read it
Oh,
before.
okay.
And
Those are some angry fruit.
yeah, so absolutely. I picked it up this summer because in the spring, my wife and I took a cross country trip. We drove out to San Diego to visit our son, and we did the round trip. And then it occurred to me afterwards that as we drove from Oklahoma to California, we sort of took the trip of the Jodes, the Jode family, the characters, the main characters in the story. And so it sort of compelled me to read what it was like for them because we traveled in relative comfort and and privilege. So that's what compelled me to start reading it this summer. Then I hurt my back. I won't go into that, but I that just messed me up, and I sort of put it aside. And I said, "All right, I got to finish this before the end of the year." And I found it to be an affecting, compelling story about hunger, the human condition, and it was interesting to see that part of the country uh, under a different light. What it was like traveling, having to repair their tire every so many
Mm,
hours, and I could just pull over and get gas whenever we wanted. We needed oil at some point. We pull into a station. We're done. We're staying at nice hotels. There's no food shortage, but we had to go through the same hills, the same temperature extremes, but we traveled in comfort. But the other thing about the book, and that Steinbeck captures so brilliantly, I think, is just the cruelty and lack of empathy that people have for one
yeah.
another. And, back when today we may, and I'm not going to take a side, I don't want to be political, but let's say one of a burning issue that we are confronted with is what to do with immigrants, a lot of
Yeah.
whom are coming here to pick fruit. Well, here we have the same issues, only these are fellow citizens. And historically, we weren't much kinder to our fellow citizens. So, if you want to make the case and say, no, this is our country first, and with it, okay, fine. But not too long ago, within Jimmy Carter's lifetime, okay, we're talking about treating our fellow citizens like that. And these people for
Yeah.
Oklahoma, they were called Okies, and that was a term of derision, but it also implied foreigner, other, not one of us. But in fact, they were citizens of the country. They were. One could argue all these people were Christian, so they were of a similar. They come from a similar religious background, and yet they found a way to demonize some other ones, and it gets quite ugly, and at times it's quite beautiful as Steinbeck creates situations where people come together and are resilient and find ways of creating community where they look out for one another. And so, all in all, it was a very satisfying read, particularly in the wake
Yeah.
of my cross country travels. And if you haven't read it, I would recommend it, or at least see the movie with Henry Fonda. But the book it's a good read. Which leads me then to what do I read next? So I'll be quick. My brother gave me for Christmas Al Pacino's memoir, Sonny Boy. Yeah, and it's good. Yeah,
Oh.
I know. Isn't this a great picture of Al?
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
I like that.
So I
I
started
like
reading
that.
that, but then
Becky
yesterday,
says Steinbeck is a genius, such a
yeah,
deep thinker.
he was a deep thinker and fine craftsman in how he in his prose. And I'll say this about Grapes of Wrath: there is an ending. The last 7 to 10 pages are extraordinary. And the whole book, not always on that level, but he's building to a moment. And for those who know it, they know, and I won't give it away, but those last 7 pages will stay with you for a long time for so many reasons. So yeah,
Yeah.
thumbs up to Steinbeck.
Well, you gotta give us an update on that
Al
Al
Pacino.
Pacino one,
I will.
because I would love to know what he's writing about.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, he was born and lived in the Bronx as I was for the early part of my life, and we both come from Italian American families. We'll see where our paths different. But Al Pacino, he's made a couple of one or two good films. He's made a little noise in Hollywood.
He's
So
got a
yeah.
few, got a few of them.
So
I vaguely remember this thing that I believe, what was Scarface?
I've heard of it. Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, that
My
was
wife had a woman so parura from cocaine. She's gonna buy me one little Barbie.
there you go. That's pretty good. That's
Thank
pretty good. I remember Serpico. I remember Dog Day Afternoon.
Yeah.
He's had a few good ones. He's
Yes,
had a
he
few
has.
good ones.
Quite a legacy. Really, if he stopped in the 70s, you could say that was an extraordinary career, right?
Right.
But still going. Still going.
Yeah.
So we'll
All
see.
righty. So Diggs is in the house. Hey, what's up, Diggs? Diggs BTW7. Thank you for being here. It was nice because we've had Becky and we've had Hugo here as well. Nice to see the comments, and you can be part of the show when you comment. So you should do that out there. Be part of the show. It's time to move on to next topic, which I found this very intriguing, right? I saw the thing and look, the bodyguard, the actual bodyguard, had some things to say. And then I realized, okay, so why is he coming out and saying this now?
Hmm.
Because he's got a new memoir coming out
Uh-huh.
in January.
Okay.
That's why.
So
So
you gotta
there's always a reason for somebody
Yes.
to do this,
Yeah.
right? But it did strike me, as important though, because Whitney Houston is a legend, of course,
Mhm.
passed far before she should have. Far before.
Yeah.
What,
No,
48 years old? Excuse me. 48 years old, way too soon. And
Yeah.
she was just an amazing voice. So Daily Mail had an interview with the bodyguard, David Roberts, who was a former police officer and was her bodyguard from 1988 to 1995. And he had a lot of things to say, including that there was a point where he had feelings for her that went beyond,
Their
the job.
professional relationship. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And it turns out that I guess this was the inspiration to the movie,
Film. Okay.
which he was still her bodyguard at the time.
Mm.
So that the movie came out 1992, correct? Yes, because that's when the songs all came out, right? So that makes sense. So 1992 movie, he stayed with her till 1995. And so he went on to say that he once got a Post-it note under his door from her. He didn't reveal what was on the Post-it note. It's probably in his memoir.
Pick up some Culver chicken. Thanks.
Yeah. That's great. Oh, I love it. That's the one. That's the clip right there from the for the reels right there.
Okay.
So he didn't reveal what it said, but he still has the Post-it note, and it's very precious to him.
Okay. Sure.
He also said that if you cross the line, you then lose objectivity and make it dangerous for the person you're protecting. So he didn't cross the line, but he thought about it. I mean, how could you not? It was Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
I mean,
he's only human.
she was, looked good.
Hmm.
So, I mean, how do you not think of that, right?
Sure. And when you work so closely, you connect, right? You have this emotional connection, and at times appropriate, but other times, again, there's
Right.
the challenge. But the feelings are authentic, but it does require discipline
It
and
does.
character to.
It does. And so there was a lot of things about their relationship, and when you get to know somebody, you start getting that bond.
Mhm.
And so I can totally understand where he's coming from.
Yeah.
It's hard to resist the
Hmm.
temptation,
Yeah.
but he did it. He did it. And so I just found it intriguing, the whole story, and I loved, how he talked about her. And I mean, you can tell, the way he did talk about her, that there was definitely something there.
Mm, mm.
And that's, I mean, he's held that for all this time, and he put it in his memoirs, and they come out, January.
Anyway,
So we only have to wait till next month to find out,
I have to,
all the details. Um, and
hurry
he
up and
did,
finish the Sunny Boy. Yeah.
yeah. So he did have that one moment
Yeah.
where he almost gave up, you know,
Mm.
that profession, and
With him.
you know, almost hooked up with Whitney.
Ron, I apologize.
Almost.
What is his name? The bodyguard's name?
David Roberts.
David Roberts. Okay.
David Roberts. Um, yeah. So he's gonna have his memoir called "Protecting Whitney."
Okay.
So I can't wait.
Something
I
to
wanna I wanna be able to see that. So I'm
something to look
Kenny.
forward to.
I'm glad Kenny's here.
Okay. Here we go.
You came just at the right time, Kenny. Just at the right time. Because we have Ron's top five, and you are going to be unhappy. I'm telling you, you're going to be unhappy.
Good Lord.
Ron's top five Whitney Houston songs. I cannot wait. I can only imagine Kenny's face when he finds out when he finds out some certain song isn't going to be number one. So my honorable mentions. I mean, this is tough because Whitney Houston is fantastic, right?
It's an impressive portfolio. Yeah. Yeah.
It is. It is. And I mean, you figure when she came out, you just knew that she was going to be fantastic, right? Just from day one. The voice, the look, the whole bit. So my honorable mentions, How Will I Know from 1985. Saving All My Love for You, also 1985. You Give Good Love, also from 1985. I've already got him squirming, I'm sure.
It's a big year.
Oh, see? Heartbreak Hotel is her favorite. Yeah, it's not even on my honorable mentions, Becky. So I guess I'm gonna get you upset too.
Oh my goodness.
Um, I'm Your Baby Tonight, 1990, honorable mention. And Didn't We Almost Have It All, 1987, honorable mention. So what's on the list, you say?
Yes. Yeah.
What's on the
Okay. Here we
number
go.
five, I have Greatest Love of All, 1986. Love the song. See, there he goes. Disrespectful.
Uh,
How is that disrespectful? Those are great songs, but they're not as good as these five, Kenny. Not as good as these five. So, number five, Greatest Love of All from
okay.
1986. Number four, One Moment in Time, 1988. I don't remember. I don't. Was it the Seoul Olympics? I think it was
Mm.
1988 Seoul Olympics that this was the theme song for. One Moment in Time is fantastic. It's fantastic. Yeah. I'm not sure everybody agrees with that, but
Yeah.
I like it. Number three. which this goes back to 87. I Want to Dance with Somebody. Upbeat, great song. I love that song. Love it. Love the song. I'm waiting. Kenny's probably just stunned at this point.
You think we should probably send someone to the house, right, and see is he
Yeah, we need
conscious?
to do a wellness check for
Yeah.
Kenny. Number two. Number two, I Will Always Love You. The big phenomenal hit, right? I Will Always Love You. The one that she
Mhm.
made Dolly Parton's version look terrible. Great song. Great song. Becky is now tagging all her great songs. Look at
Yeah.
those songs. Those are great songs, right? But I Will Always Love You, not number one. Kenny, you still with us? You still there? You still
Okay.
alive? Number one is I Have Nothing from the movie as well. It got overshadowed by I Will Always Love You, but far better song, first of all. Like the lyrics are way better. It really tells a story. That song really tells a story. The other one is just, yeah, okay, it's good. It's great. She has a great voice in that one. But this one, it's even better. The range that she made on this, the music itself, you know. But I Have Nothing from 1992, The Bodyguard, is Whitney Houston's best song, according to me.
According to
And I stick by those songs. And Kenny, I know you're so angry right now. You've probably stormed off. But that is how it is. That's Whitney Houston's top five songs on Ron's top five.
clearly your love of her work and in her, comes out because you've curated, a fine list, but acknowledge, like, she has such a body of work. It's almost unfair to pick a top five, but when you do,
Right.
this is your top five, and you put a lot of thought into it, which is kind of
Yeah.
interesting. And it would, and for if these are not in your top five, I had to go and listen to them and see, what you're seeing something in them that warrants an elevation to this kind of level. And this is what fans should do. This is what fans should do, Martin. With the disrespect. That's well, that's JD, and I'm not part of the of that of that dance. But that notwithstanding, when you've got a body of work like hers, oh God,
it's
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 really,
it's literally
yeah,
one of the most difficult things.
yeah.
It's like trying to pick out your five favorite Beatles
Yeah,
songs.
oh, no, please. I mean, and I have mine, but honestly, I could probably come up with 10 of my top 5 Beatles songs,
Right. And it's
depending on
like,
my mood.
and
Yeah, yeah,
depending on the day, it
yeah,
could be totally different.
yeah. But Becky asked, "What's Kenny's top 5?" And Kenny,
Yeah, Kenny,
curate
what's your
your
top
list.
five?
Curate your list. See if there's an overlap, or then I
I
think you
thought those songs were fantastic. I mean, outside of I Want to Dance with Somebody, they all have meaning. And what I look for is the music, how well the music arrangement is, how well the voice is, of course, and the range. And she shares a wider range with I Have Nothing than I Will Always Love You. And that's just it. I'm not taking away from the song. I'm just taking, the quality of the voice in the song.
Ron,
So
this is the kind of analysis people who love opera fight about over their favorite divas. So I'm thinking you need to start investing some time in opera now and start curating your lists. Like it's
I go by what's out there, Martin. Um, Now, normally when I do a top five, I take it from the holidays that are there,
yeah,
or like whose birthday it is, And this, I saw that I'm doing a story of Whitney Houston. I could
pass up.
not
Yeah,
do
yeah,
Whitney Houston,
sure.
and look. probably one of the best voices ever. I think she's probably the best female voice ever for sure. Um, I mean, everything she does is great. You know, there probably isn't a bad song in her whole library. But you know, when I look at it, I see, and I remember The Greatest Love of All. You know, I remember all these songs and where I was at those times when I
Mm,
heard it.
that
And
was it. Yeah.
so that in itself has to speak something for it too. So, you know, there is the point in time when I hear the song as well. You know, it could be with someone, it could be, you know, wherever, whatever the song is, you know? Like I'm sure the first time I heard, you know, some of these songs was just on the radio, but what are you doing in those moments, right? And that
Mhm.
all plays a part of it too, because there's
Yeah.
certain feelings for a song, and everybody's got that. So everybody could be different, and there's nothing wrong with that. So Kenny, you know, don't think too badly of the top five. Just enjoy those songs. So you don't have to get so heated and disrespected because of my top five, because my top five is going to be different from everybody else's. Of course, most of the people that once they hear the songs, then they say, "Oh yeah, Ron's right."
Yeah.
So there you go, Kenny. I'm glad you came, but I want to thank you, Becky, of course, and Hugo, and what was that? What was the other guy? Diggs, for being here and being, you know, a little bit chatty today.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Mhm.
And you get to be part of the show like Kenny is part of the show. And speaking of which, tomorrow's show is going to feature Mr. Kenneth and Miss Becky. So they will be here tomorrow
Quality show.
to bring in, you know, the New Year's Eve show. But it will be at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time because we know we can't stop these two from partying. So they got to be out of there, you know, on time tomorrow. So that way they can go join their festivities
Mm.
and, you know, whatever they're going to do, whether it's watching, you know, Ryan Seacrest, which I still miss Dick Clark.
I I still miss Guy Lombardo in the Royal Canadian.
Oh, Jesus, Guy Lombardo.
Uh,
Becky, did you watch Guy Lombardo?
but I miss Dick Clark too.
Kenny, let it go. Let it go.
Don't sugarcoat.
Let it go. So
Boy.
So that's it for
All right,
today.
Kenny.
Come back tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 o'clock if you're in the Edmonton area. And we want to hear from all you Canadians as Becky leads the way tomorrow with Kenny. That should be a dandy of a show. I got a feeling
Absolutely.
Kenny's going to mention this. So have a good night, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thank you all. Bye bye.